The economical status is very bad now in Hungary, and now the Fidesz government organized in many parts the hate speech, and it is terrible. So, do you know, from Brussels, we got many money to the Roma integration, but this money
it gets lost
in institution level, so it is very bad now. So our communication is very hard.
Civilian-based social enterprises have a decreasing access to national and EU-based funding. And here, funding from international non-governmental organizations has an increasing importance. But in this context, we also have to say that the state aims to control or get an increasing control over the funding sources available for social enterprises. So in this way, those social enterprises get stigmatized if they accept funding from international donors. These meetings provided us an important platform to raise our voices as Central and Eastern European social enterprise scholars.
How did we address this fragmentation of the SE field? And how did we empower the next generation of SE scholars? Strengthening the community was indeed a key factor. Here's a brief summary of the activities carried out in the past 4 years. So we shot the documentary in a participatory way. But what for?
This is a wonderful way to show in a few minutes the type of things we are doing in EMES.
To come together in order to create joint projects.
Best to promote not only research topic but joint efforts that gives better approach to certain topics.
The COS action has been very useful for PhD scholars to enhance their academic career, and this is not very well known among younger scholars, so I think that this is a very important point to highlight.
And to put this, of course, in our case, into the hands of social entrepreneurs. They really need to understand beyond the academic components and beyond the academic context, what does it really mean for them, and how can this action and their results of the projects be used for them to better develop their business plan, to understand their dynamics, and to better understand how can they connect further to get more resources, more support, and increase their social impact.
I think might be used to speak about social enterprises to a wider public, to engage more people into doing good for society, creating social enterprises, and making our life better.
I think I would love to use it in Germany, but then it would have to have a German language translation, because we do not have many people who are in the know about the social economy or social enterprises, let alone about the fact that they are running social enterprises, or that we have a very varied field of social enterprises in Germany. They just don't call themselves like that. So that would be something I would like to use the documentary for.
I think you can show throughout the video the more personal aspect of people, you know. It's very intimate, you see who you are talking to, and also illustrate diversity. I think the diversity of the action plan is fantastic. I mean,
people tend to avoid showing emotions, but I can feel that this particular network, this particular sector, allow us to show emotions. So why not to show that in a documentary? Because we can do that here. We can dance, we can smile, we can be humans, we can say things that perhaps in other type of environments we couldn't say. So
I think it's really interesting that something like this manages to look into a community like EMES, where, you know, if we're thinking that cost has this kind of science and technology framing, then actually one has a particular notion of what science and technology scholars and scholarship is like. And I think EMES shows a real diversity around that, different ways of looking at those kind of subjects. I think obviously coming from, you know, being the PhD representative of this little group, then I would say that there's something about inspiring future scholars to get interested in this area.
Showcase of how a multidisciplinary community of researchers can scale up and also build stronger trust relations among the different members, so as to explore also new avenues of research, starting from the lens of the social enterprise.
I think that use of this documentary could really be in visibility and recognition of this field. So it could be evidence of tremendous work that tens and tens of researchers and other stakeholders, we have them, I think, more than 400 in the cost action altogether, have performed in last 4 years.
And it is also good for us to remember, because sometimes we forget. It is also good for us to remember the work that we've been doing together, and you know, how special are the moments where we are together discussing and dancing. I hope the video has some dance. It would be important too.
A community of scientists dancing? Really? Well, find out for yourself. Okay, we understood. Emotions are important for social researchers. What about social enterprises?
One of the most interesting, intriguing, I would say, social enterprise I met, it's actually operating in the field which is not commonly understood as being close to social entrepreneurship. I'm talking about sports. And I'm talking about an organization which is operating in Timișoara in Romania. It's called Alergotura, which would be translated as I'm running a lab. And they had a very community-oriented action. Through different activities, they are trying to involve as many citizens as possible. For instance, they are organizing neighborhood runs, where the pace of the running it's adapted to everybody, but probably the flagship of their activity is an event which would bring like 6,000 people together. Initially it was a running event trying to imply different types of categories of activities, like, you know, kids running, but also adults running, bicycling, and all kinds of sport activities. But then later on, they wanted not only to bring people together, but also to do something, to give back to the community something. So basically, they transformed the event into a philanthropy event. So they are raising funds and they provide resources to the most interesting projects developed by other organizations dedicated to the community. So basically, through this running event, they first of all bring together a lot of people from the community, and then they imply all those resources for community projects. And I think that sport, it's kind of social enterprise field which was overlooked by most of the people researching social entrepreneurship, social enterprise. But nowadays I'm trying to promote this example as being relevant.
Either Goya Presso or Solidarity Economy Center from Hungary. Goya Presso is a workers' cooperative in Budapest, and Solidarity Economy Center is a center for developing solidarity enterprises and their network in Hungary. Both of these initiatives are based on the idea of economic democracy and environmental sustainability. So I think both of these initiatives are great examples of social enterprises in Hungary.
As I am Belgium, I will choose social enterprise from Belgium. And you know that in this cost action, what was very important to understand, to grasp the landscape of social enterprise was the basic notion of models. And two models are the more dominant in Europe. These are entrepreneurial non-profit, and as a Belgian case, I will take the social enterprise based in Brussels, which is Les Petits Riens. And under the umbrella of social cooperative, I would take the Belgian social enterprise of Agricovert.
We have met a lot of inspiring social enterprises worldwide, but picking one is like, who do you love the most? Your father or your mother, right? But for me, I would say BGBG initiative. They are based in Malaysia. I think would be very worthy to explore that, because this is a company who has been for many years is led by young people, and they have a very collaborative and cooperative way to develop their work. They do work with upcycling, and it's fantastic what they've been doing for the last few years. I definitely would suggest to look into BGBG also, because they are from Malaysia. Malaysia is very diverse in terms of cultures, so you can see it's very nice. I definitely recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, as Andres was saying, it's very difficult to choose one project, because when we have had the opportunity to travel around the world and visit social enterprises, we meet we met more than 200 social entrepreneurs in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, in Europe. But if I have to choose one that actually touched me basically, and in terms of like emotional and impact, I will say Jaipur rugs in India. I think India is a very inspiring country. Jaipur rugs, why Jaipur rugs is because they call it the Gandhi of the carpets, and the founder started from nothing. Very small project. The mission was to support rural women in random places in India, and it has the company has expanded so much that it's able to help thousands of women in areas that you couldn't believe that no one has access to. So it's an amazing project, but also the human being behind the project, the founder, is very inspiring. The guy is very simple, very approachable. So I really like this project. I think that will be a very inspiring project for these reasons, because it has a huge impact. It's a big company, social enterprise company, but it also, the person behind is a very good human being.
They grew, they had a very competent management, they developed entrepreneurial activities which are relatively new in Croatia in partnership with other companies. They connected very well in the local area, and from last 3 years, so from 2018, they got a status from a ministry to be an integrative workshop. So they are one of the only companies in Croatia in which persons with disabilities are part of the whole production process, and now they are employing more than 30 persons with disabilities, and they are having numerous contracts and partnerships with private companies about fulfilling the requirements of the quota system in Croatia. So they are part of the welfare system, but the innovative part of the welfare system.
Now let's listen to what participants liked the most about this cost action.
So I would say that one of the great results of the cost SE Empower would actually be that all the researchers from all the participating countries have widened and deepened the social enterprise research agenda. So we have worked on themes that we did address in advance. We have worked with definitions of social enterprise across nations. We have worked on multi-level organizations and social enterprises, but we have also added new themes. That is, we have been working on arts and culture as transformation in social enterprises. We have been working on sports as part of a social enterprise.
For sure, it will be the two books. One book about Western Europe, the other book about Eastern and Central Europe regarding the field of social enterprise. And these books, based on the cost action, are open access. It means that everybody can have access to these books and this chapter, where so many people involved in the action have published chapters regarding the landscape of social enterprise in their own country.
Well, it would be the transversal paper we did on cooperatives, which came out of the documentary of national reports. We were able to use this material in a multi-layered, filtered approach to actually distract the relationships between context factors and characteristics of social cooperatives. And that would never have been possible had we not had support from COST to be able to meet for workshops and meet for conferences and actually get this paper developed.
And this was the workshop or the meeting on social enterprise in arts and culture. And since this is an innovative framing of the activities in arts and culture as social enterprises, it was a very interesting workshop. It was in Malta in November 2019. It was, as other workshops, we gathered researchers from several parts of Europe, practitioners from Malta. We had a very good and interesting discussion. We also brought researchers to enlarge our community, researchers of culture and the arts, which enlarged our community and now are involved, for instance, in the streams in the conference on social enterprise and culture and the art. So for me, this is one of the most motivating results.
If I can build on that, so as together with Lars Kugart, I co-led this working group to Industries and Impact, and I was also going to mention that for me personally, this was one of the most important research results, that we succeeded in organize 5 different seminars about new and relevant topics. For example, we had a seminar on migration, which is quite relevant now. We opened and probed some new themes that weren't explored in the EMES community so far, like Silvia mentioned culture, but we also organized one seminar on the topics of sports, and we can already see results. On this EMES conference, we are already having sessions on those topics, and they were not previously part of the sessions in previous conferences. So for me, that is the obvious research result that we can see.
I think the workshop on migration was really very relevant because it enabled to bring together different researchers who actually, on the one hand, researchers who have been studying the topic of migration for many years, and researchers who study social enterprise and how social enterprises are tackling the challenge of migration. And this was one of the rare opportunities where we could really contribute also to shedding light on social enterprises as a tool, as a vehicle whereby very innovative integration pathways can be experimented with. And normally researchers who only study migration flows from a macro perspective, macroeconomic perspective, or also from a very micro, from an anthropological, for instance, perspective, they tend to overlook completely the role, the potential of organized civil society. So I think this was very, very an interesting opportunity to build new relations and also to think about new projects that we may develop over the next future. Yeah, because in general, I think there is, especially in this field, there are all over Europe very, very interesting initiatives that are invisible. Nobody knows about them. They are very difficult to unearth. So I think our task as researchers could really be that of scouting this initiative and trying to study them bottom up really, and try to reflect on inclusion policies, on reception policies that could actually contribute to having a beneficial impact not only on recipients but also on the hosting territories.
I think one of the most relevant results of this cost action is the work carried out by the Ecosystem Working Group. The results of this working group has facilitated knowledge on the different working of ecosystem throughout the European countries. Knowing more in depth about the different mechanisms, the actors, the policy framework, and of course highlighting the different components of ecosystem that allow social enterprises to work better and to facilitate their knowledge, to articulate and to facilitate the deployment of resources and support that they need to operate.
Development of the early career researchers and PhD students. It's fantastic. I mean, throughout these years, even us, right? We grew extensively, we got more knowledge, we get to know more people, projects, conceptually even. We've learned a lot throughout these years. I think having the opportunity to understand the world from different perspectives has been the major result of the action project.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that to make sure, like to connect early career researchers with the experienced professors that have been working in the sector for so many years, and to make it in such a human way and candid way, like connecting and having time to spend like discussing about what you want to do, how you can develop yourself. I find this is more like sometimes I feel it's like a lot of mentoring, a lot of even I will say somehow informal coaching, like supporting us in terms of personal development, like giving you security that you are in the right path.
I think obviously the cost action outcome that's closest to my heart is the PhD training school, which started online last year and then has occurred in person here in the actual conference. And obviously that was done in a very difficult context for all researchers, of everyone being isolated because of COVID. But I think that had a particular impact upon PhDs who were at a very vulnerable stage in their development, and to be able to have that online community. We had researchers from all over the world, from Asia, from Africa, from Latin America, who were able to contribute online, who may have faced barriers physically if we had had the original one in the place it was intended. And it's really wonderful to be able to be here now in this conference and to see each other actually in person. And I see PhDs getting together in different places around, writing, discussing what they're doing, and you really feel that the time that they've had to connect with each other and the manner that's been facilitated with the researchers that have been mentioned from various different universities that contributed with courses or with little online trainings for us as PhDs. It really provided pedagogical support and mental health support as much as it provided disciplinary support, and allowed us to kind of see where we want to direct the future of the ecosystem of social enterprise and social entrepreneurship, and what our role might be in that. So that's been really exciting.
The cost action has been a key tool for young scholars and PhD students to improve or to enhance their academic career. For example, through the short-term scientific missions, which have allowed them to visit other universities and to work with senior researchers from all over the world. So I think that this is a very relevant result from the cost action.
I think that the most important one, it's about bringing people together. The events which were organized, it's the ground for developing future actions. And obviously when promoting social enterprises, we need as much as possible either support, either human resources. And in this respect, cost action, it's a great opportunity.
This action was really helpful in strengthening the voice of Central and Eastern European social enterprise researchers, but I also see a further path and need for strengthening these voices.
Since including everyone in the documentary is an impossible task due to the time limit, we decided in a participatory way to select one researcher for the in-depth interview on the cost action.
I would choose Julia Galera,
Lars Hulgaard and Daniel Bakhturina.
All the young researchers who have been involved in the action, because the name of the action was empowering the next generation of SE scholars. So all these young researchers, and there are many, so it's impossible to cite all of them, but you need to go them to interview to see what is the next generation of SE scholars over Europe.
Well, let's open a parenthesis here. Marth is absolutely right. Young researchers represent the future of this scientific community. Let's watch a few samples of our video pill series before returning to the question.
My name is Audronia Urmanavice.
Hello, I am Eduardo Pereira. I am Brazilian doing a PhD in Lille.
My name is Itzia Gomez.
My name is Juliana Kish.
My name is Melinda Mihai. I am also from Hungary.
Hello, my name is Mariam Qbaj. I'm from Morocco. I'm preparing PhD on supporting structures of social enterprises.
Hi, my name is Tamara. I am Serbian. I'm coming from Serbia. But I'm recently involved with an interesting project in Universidad de Jaume I in Spain. And my topic is consciousness in social enterprises. And it's a very broad topic. and it's very interesting. But also I need to get involved with the peers and people who are interested in the same field.
I'm analyzing the practices of social incubators in the Moroccan context and trying to find out what makes them different, what makes supporting social entrepreneurs different from supporting other type of entrepreneurs. How COST is empowering me as a young researcher is by giving me the chance to take part of international events and international conferences.
And also finding your tribe, maybe in a personal level, people who speak same language, think about same things, and seeing their perspectives and how the topic will evolve during the time and during the process. So I think that's for me the most important thing, and that's why I came, and that's why I found for this school, and I'm very happy to be part of it.
My advice to young colleagues joining the field is to take part of social enterprise research communities or networks such as EMES, so you go to know the news of the field and you don't feel like isolated or alone, but there is a community that will support you.
So from that perspective, COST means a lot of me, that give me financial support as well to be part of this school, and I'm very, very grateful for this.
Let's continue with the voting for the in-depth interview.
I think if we should interview in depth, one of the researchers from this action should be Rocío Nogales.
It's an almost impossible task.
Either Julia Galera or Rocío.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that Silvia Ferreira could also be a very good option.
Rocío Nogales from the Arts and Culture stream.
Richard Lang, Simone Polladrini, and Nafina Stahanovskana.
Benjamin Guidron.
Rocío Nogales.
The unique contribution of an action like this one can be seen both at the individual and the collective level, but also at the governance level. Since the beginning, we knew that this action had to be governed in a horizontal, open and transparent way. And this actually allowed for some room for criticism and questioning that eventually resulted in a richer program and a wider array of activities and initiatives coming from the participants themselves. One of the things that we did in order to capture the researchers' conditions, but also the impact at the level of emotional well-being as part of the action, was to put together a survey that was conducted and delivered to all the participants, over 400 participants, and that almost half of them responded. It was a detailed survey that covered individual perceptions of satisfaction and institutional perceptions of satisfaction. What we learned was that at the individual level, researchers claimed that the action was life-changing, and also others considered it to be outstanding. Even more importantly, you would say, the action has reached its research objective of bridging communities of practice and research across different geographical contexts, but also disciplinary traditions. This means that a vast majority of researchers either strongly agree or agree that participating in this action was very, very important for them or for their institutions. Therefore, the main contribution of an action like this one has been to ensure that researchers, early career and senior researchers, received the technical, human and scholarly support that they needed to join this emerging community of SE scholars. By doing so, what we are ensuring is that in those countries where these research communities are either non-existent or emerging, these new generations find a group, a community that supports them in their career. The power that this community has produced and will continue to produce has a lot to do with the level of education, but also commitment of these individuals who are motivated not only by their own career development, but also with the development and the consolidation of a field of research that we have come to name the SE field. Regarding some of the learnings that we take away from Empower SE, I've had the honor of working with my colleague Julia Galera to boil them down to 5. The first one has to do with the need to do more research on the role of the SE field and organized civil society in tackling the challenges that we're facing as societies in a context of transitions. The second one has to do with doing a conscious effort to change the European integration narrative and moving away from a narrative of developmentalism and really taking into consideration what are the resources and the contributions that may come from countries that are traditionally considered as backward or underdeveloped versus the more developed Western Europe. In this sense, the SE theories that stem from the dialogue between the global North and the global South are very, very conducive to innovative thinking on the subject. Thirdly, it has to do with the notion of ecosystem itself. Ecosystems are not closed and are not static, and all the elements, all the agents ought to be researched with the same urgency. The fourth one has to do with the need and the urgency to invite non-specialist scholars to the SE field as a way to improve the manner in which we conduct transdisciplinary research. This involves an extra effort to reach out to communities that we may not be used to interact with. The fifth one has to do with the need to support PhD candidates and early career researchers communities to interact and to build mutual trust and collaboration paths on a medium and long-term basis, not just a project basis.
In the course of this cost action, new technologies for virtual conferencing help to meet the challenge of the COVID pandemic. With travel restrictions likely in the future, the face-to-face format of scientific gathering gives place to a new set of norms as countries manage to spread off the pandemic. Whilst we welcome the return of face-to-face conferencing, virtual participation and hybrid format event is becoming normalized and presents a unique challenge to sustainable network building. Research activities are supported by relationships that need to be strong and closed over the extended periods of time. Face-to-face meetings will continue to be important in the early phase of building relationships. The way cost tools are applied and funded will need to adapt to support technologies that give the best online conferencing and networking experience. We are reaching the end of this documentary, but we couldn't finish without making a tribute to a small group of people that started it all out 25 years ago.